The diplomatic station floated in the darkness of space like a giant silver wheel. It spun slowly around the green planet below. Inside the main hall, creatures of all shapes and sizes walked through the corridors. Some had 2 legs. Others had 4 or 6. Some had scales that shimmered in the light. Others had fur or shells. A few seemed to glow with their own strange light. Hajun stood near a large window. He watched the planet turn slowly below him. His brown eyes were calm as he took in the view. He wore simple clothes. A dark jacket over a plain shirt. Nothing fancy. That was how Hajun liked things. "Stop looking at clouds and pay attention," said a voice behind him. Nari walked up beside him. She was also human. But where Hajun seemed relaxed, Nari stood straight and alert. Her eyes moved constantly, watching everything. She worked in security, and it showed. "I am paying attention," Hajun said with a small smile. "I'm just doing it while being comfortable." This was the Galactic Summit. It was the biggest meeting of different species in all of known space. 47 different civilizations had sent their people here. They came to sign a treaty about trade and peace. The humans had only joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago. Before that, nobody even knew Earth existed. The other species were not sure what to think about humans. These strange creatures had gone from simple radio signals to faster-than-light travel in just 200 years. That kind of speed made other species nervous. It made them wonder what else humans could do. "The exhibition starts in 1 hour," Nari reminded him. "You need to present something about Earth." "I know," Hajun said. He turned away from the window. "Everything is ready." The exhibition hall was huge. The ceiling stretched up so high that small clouds formed near the top. In the center of the room stood several large containers made of pure energy. The aliens called them force fields. Inside each container was a creature from someone's home world. Ambassador Thexlar stood in front of one container. He was tall and thin with 4 arms. His body was covered in shiny blue armor that looked like an insect shell. His species was called the Chitinous Collective. They looked like insects but thought and spoke like anyone else. "Look at this," Thexlar said. His voice clicked and buzzed. A device in Hajun's ear translated the sounds into words he could understand. "This is the razor wing mantid from our world. For thousands of years, these creatures hunted my ancestors. They could cut through stone with their claws. They could fly faster than our eyes could follow." The creature in the container moved. It was 3 meters long, with blades along its arms. The blades caught the light like mirrors. Everyone watching took a step back. "But we evolved," Thexlar continued with pride in his voice. "We grew harder shells. We built weapons. We conquered our fear and became the dominant species of our world." The crowd clapped. Species congratulating other species on winning against nature. Next came High Priest Vormak. His scales were deep red, and his eyes were golden. He pointed to another container, where a massive serpent was coiled up. The serpent's body seemed to glow with heat. "The thermal serpent," Vormak said in a deep, slow voice. "It lives in our deepest deserts. Its body burns hot enough to melt metal. My people learned to run fast, to hide well, to be smarter than them. Those who were too slow became food. Those who were clever became our ancestors." More clapping. More congratulations. Then all eyes turned to Hajun. "What about Earth?" asked Captain Grentalk. He was massive and covered in thick gray skin that looked like stone. His species were warriors. "What mighty predator threatens your soft species?" Hajun walked forward with his hands in his pockets. He looked casual and relaxed. "Earth has many predators. We have bears. We have sharks. We have crocodiles. We have big cats. We have wolves. Actually, we have quite a lot." "And you defeated them? Drove them away from your cities?" Thexlar asked. "Not exactly," Hajun said. "Then you live in fear of them?" Vormak suggested. "Also no," Hajun replied. Silence fell over the hall. The aliens looked confused. They did not understand. Nari stood by the wall, trying not to smile. She knew what was coming next. "We have a different relationship with our predators," Hajun explained to the confused crowd. "Would you like to see what I mean?" The council observer stepped forward. This being was made of what looked like living crystal. Its body chimed like bells when it moved. "You wish to present a specimen from your world?" "One. If that's allowed," Hajun said politely. The observer's body made bell sounds as it thought. "The containment fields are strong. They will hold any creature. You may bring your predator here." 20 minutes passed. Then, a large transport container arrived. It took up a big portion of the exhibition floor. The aliens gathered around it, curious, but also cautious. "Before we open this," Hajun said to everyone, "I should tell you something. This is an apex predator from Earth. It is fully grown. It is fully functional. It sits at the top of the food chain in its habitat." "How dangerous is it?" asked a small, furry creature from the back of the crowd. "It weighs about 300 kilograms, Hajun explained. Its bite can crush bone easily. Its claws can tear through flesh like paper. It can run fast enough to catch most prey animals. It hunts alone and fears nothing in its natural environment." The crowd began to murmur nervously. The force fields around the viewing area got brighter. They were being strengthened for safety. Their member mentions, "RB armaments. Release it into the containment zone," the observer ordered. The container opened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a shape came out, moving like liquid. It was orange, with black stripes. Golden eyes looked around the room. The tiger stepped fully into view, and several aliens made sounds of surprise and fear. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Muscles moved under its fur with every step it took. When it yawned, everyone could see its teeth. They were white and sharp. This was a hunter. This was death wearing a coat of fur. "Magnificent," Vormak said quietly, his voice full of respect. "And your people fled before such creatures? You ran from them? And hid? In your cities?" "No," Hajun said simply. "We became friends with them. Everyone thought their translator devices had broken. They must have broken. Because surely this human did not just say what they thought he said. That was impossible." "Friends?" Grentok's voice was flat. He did not believe what he heard. "You claim friendship with this killer?" "Well, not with all of them," Hajun admitted. "The wild ones we mostly leave alone in their natural habitats. But this one is named Baram. He was born in a sanctuary. That's a safe place where we care for these animals." "Care for them?" Thexlar repeated the words slowly. "You keep these killers alive on purpose?" "Of course," Hajun said. He looked surprised that this was even a question. "They're important to Earth's ecosystem. They're beautiful creatures. They're worth protecting." "From inside a cage," Grentok said. "Safe behind barriers where they cannot reach you." "Usually yes," Hajun agreed. Then he smiled. "But I need to check on Baram. Make sure he's comfortable in this strange place." Observer: "Do I have permission to enter the containment field?" Every alarm in the room seemed to go off at the same time. Not real alarms, but the feeling of alarm in every being present. The observer's crystal body flashed bright red. "Absolutely not. That violates every safety protocol we have in place. I'll sign whatever papers you need," Hajun said calmly. He did not look worried at all. "But Baram knows me. He's probably confused about being in a strange place. I should go comfort him." After the place patted, Arrington Z7. "Comfort the predator?" Vormak's voice went high with shock. "This is madness. Complete madness." Nari finally spoke up from where she stood by the wall. "He'll be fine. I've seen him do this 100 times before." "Your human is suicidal," Grentok declared. His stone-like face was set in disbelief. "We are about to witness his death." "I don't think so," Nari said. She did not even look up from her datapad. "But if it makes you feel better, I have medical teams on standby just in case." Hajun was already signing the holographic papers that appeared in front of him. Page after page of warnings and legal documents floated in the air. He scrolled through them quickly, marking his agreement on each one. "This is unprecedented," the observer said. Its voice sounded nervous now. "I cannot recommend this action. I cannot support it." "Noted," Hajun said simply. "Can you open the field now?" The observer's body became dim. This might have been like a person sighing. "May your gods protect you, human." The force field made a soft sound like a curtain being pulled open. Hajun stepped through the opening. Behind him, the field closed again with a quiet hum. He was alone now, in the containment zone, with 300 kilograms of apex predator. The tiger called Baram had been walking along the far wall. His head turned when Hajun entered. Those golden eyes focused on the human. The great cat's body lowered slightly. His muscles tensed and bunched under his striped fur. Every alien watching held their breath. This was it. They were about to see a human die in the most horrible way possible. Hajun knelt down on the floor. He did not look afraid. He made a soft clicking sound with his tongue. "Hey, big guy. Yeah, I know. Strange place, isn't it? You're probably confused." Baram's ears moved forward. The tiger took one step toward the human, then another step. His massive paws made no sound on the floor as he walked. "That's it." Hajun kept his voice gentle and calm. "Come here. It's okay. Everything is okay." The tiger came closer until he was right in front of the kneeling human. His head was level with Hajun's chest. One swipe of those claws could end everything. One bite could crush the human's skull. Then, Baram pressed his massive head against Hajun's shoulder. The aliens watching could not process what they were seeing. Their minds could not make sense of it. It did not fit with anything they knew. Predators did not do this. Apex hunters did not approach prey with what looked like affection, but Hajun was scratching behind the tiger's ears now, and the massive cat was leaning into the touch like it was the best feeling in the world. A deep rumbling sound filled the containment zone. The tiger was purring. The vibration was so strong that it made the force fields shake slightly. "Good boy," Hajun said softly. "Such a good boy, Baram." Then the tiger did something that made half the observers cry out in alarm and fear. Baram flopped onto his side. He rolled onto his back. He exposed his belly to the human, the most vulnerable part of any predator, offered up freely, without any protection. Hajun laughed. It was a warm, happy sound. He rubbed the tiger's stomach with both hands. Baram's back legs kicked slightly in the air, like a content puppy. "What are we seeing?" Thaxlar whispered. His voice was full of confusion and shock. "What is happening here?" Nari finally looked up from her datapad. "That's just Hajun playing with a cat. A big cat, yes, but still a cat." "Playing?" Grentok repeated the word. Slowly. It seemed foreign and strange in his mouth. "The human is playing with death itself." Hajun stood up and reached into his pocket. He pulled out something small. A ball, red in color, and made of rubber. He held it up, and Baram's eyes locked onto it instantly. The tiger's whole body became focused on that ball. Then Hajun threw it across the containment zone. The tiger scrambled to his feet. 300 kilograms of muscle and teeth ran after the ball like an oversized kitten chasing a toy. When Baram caught the ball, he batted it between his paws. Then he picked it up gently in his jaws and brought it back to Hajun. "Again?" Hajun asked with a smile. Baram dropped the ball at the human's feet. The tiger crouched down with his rear end up in the air. His tail swished back and forth. It was the universal body language of an animal that wants to play. Hajun threw the ball again. Baram chased it with obvious joy. "Is the creature drugged?" Grentok demanded loudly. "The predator must be chemically altered. There is no other explanation." "No drugs," Nari said firmly. "That's just Baram being Baram. He likes to play fetch. It's his favorite game." "Fetch," the observer said. Its voice sounded faint with shock. "It's a game," Nari explained to the confused aliens. "Humans play it with animals for fun. Has anyone here ever played games with their predators?" The question was met with complete and total silence. The idea was so foreign that nobody even knew how to respond. Hajun was wrestling with the tiger now. Both of them rolled around on the floor together. The human pushed at the big cat's face. Bahram wrapped his enormous paws around Hajun's arm, but his claws were pulled in, sheathed and hidden. He could have torn the human apart in seconds. Instead, he was being gentle and careful. 10,000 years ago, Hajun called out to the watching crowd, slightly out of breath from playing. "Humans befriended wolves. We turned them into dogs. We made them our companions and friends. We've been doing this with animals ever since that time." "Impossible," Thexlar said. His voice was firm with disbelief. "Evolution doesn't work that way. Predator and prey cannot become allies. It goes against all natural law." "Maybe you should tell that to Bahram," Hajun said. He was lying on the floor now. The tiger was standing over him, licking his face with a tongue the size of a dinner plate. The human laughed and tried to push the tiger's head away. The door to the exhibition hall opened with a hiss. A young human woman walked in. She was carrying a large bag over her shoulder. She had short black hair and wore a bright yellow jacket that stood out in the crowd. "That's Doyun," Nari told the group. "She's our animal behavior specialist. She studies how animals think and act." Doyun walked right up to the force field without any hesitation or fear. "Observer, can you let me in too? Another one?" The observer's voice had given up any pretense of authority or control. "Why not? We're clearly abandoning all sense of safety and reason today." The force field opened again. Doyun stepped through like she was just walking into a normal room. She walked right up to the tiger without slowing down or showing any concern. "Hey, Bahram, who's a handsome boy? Who's the most handsome tiger in the whole galaxy?" Bahram immediately left Hajun and went to Doyun. He rubbed his massive body against her legs. She had to brace herself to stay standing. She scratched under his chin, and the tiger's eyes closed with pleasure. "I brought toys," Doyun announced happily. She reached into her bag and pulled out several items. A thick rope for tugging games, a large, sturdy stick, and then a small device with a red light on one end. "What is that object?" Vormak asked. He pointed at the small device with concern in his voice. Doyun's face lit up with a grin. She pressed a button on the device. A tiny red dot appeared on the floor of the containment zone. Bahram saw it instantly. His whole body locked onto that dot like a missile locking onto a target. His pupils went very wide and very dark. Doyun moved the laser pointer. The dot danced across the floor. Bahram pounced on it with all his focus and energy. The dot moved again. Bahram chased it. For the next full minute, 300 kilograms of apex predator chased a simple point of light around the containment zone. He acted like it was the most important thing in the entire universe. The assembled aliens watched in complete silence. Their minds were struggling to understand something that went against everything they knew. Everything they believed about nature, about survival, about the relationship between different species. All of it was being challenged by what they saw before their eyes. "I don't understand," Thexlar finally said. His voice was quiet and lost. "I don't understand any of this." Hajun walked back to the force field. He was slightly dusty from rolling on the floor with a tiger. "That's okay. It took humans a while to figure it out too. Do you want me to explain it to everyone?" The observer managed to pull itself together. Its crystal body straightened and brightened. "I believe an emergency session is required. All delegates must report to Conference Room Alpha immediately." As the aliens began to file out of the exhibition hall, they kept looking back. They could not stop themselves from turning around to look again and again. Inside the containment zone, Doyun had produced a large brush from her bag. She was grooming Bahram now. running the brush through his orange and black fur. The tiger lay on his side with his eyes half closed. He looked peaceful and content. The purring sound was so loud it echoed through the entire enormous hall. "We're in trouble, aren't we?" Hajun asked Nari quietly as they watched the shocked aliens leave. "Probably," Nari agreed with a small nod. "But look at their faces. I think it's the good kind of trouble. The kind that changes minds." Conference Room Alpha was designed to hold representatives from 47 species in comfort. Right now it felt crowded with confusion and disbelief. Everyone was talking at once. Voices clicked, buzzed, roared, and chimed in a dozen different languages. The noise was overwhelming, until the observer finally flashed bright enough to make everyone stop and look. "Order," the observer demanded in a voice that rang through the room. "We will discuss this situation calmly and rationally." "Calmly?" Grentok slammed his massive fist on the table in front of him. The whole table shook from the impact. "We just watched a human play with a creature that should have killed him. There is nothing calm about this situation." "Please explain," Vormak said to Hajun. His voice was more controlled now, but still held deep confusion. "Explain from the very beginning. How is this possible? How can you do what we just saw?" 1. Hajun leaned back in his chair. He looked relaxed and comfortable despite all the shocked faces staring at him. "It's pretty simple when you think about it. Humans bond with things. It's kind of our whole deal, as a species." "Bond with predators," Thexlar said. His voice was flat and disbelieving. "With anything, really." Hajun corrected him. "But yes, predators especially. You see, a very long time ago, humans weren't the strongest creatures on Earth. We weren't the fastest either. We weren't the best at anything physical. So we developed a different skill instead. We got really, really good at making friends with other creatures." "Friends with food animals?" asked a small amphibian delegate whose skin was bright green and wet-looking. "Sometimes, yes." Hajun nodded. "We domesticated sheep and cows and chickens. We keep them safe from predators. We feed them and give them shelter. In return, they provide us with resources. Wool from sheep, milk from cows, eggs from chickens. It works out well for everyone involved. That's basic symbiosis," the observer noted. Its voice had a thoughtful tone now. "Many species practice this kind of relationship. It doesn't explain the predator situation." "I'm getting to that part," Hajun said patiently. "About 15,000 years ago, there were wolves living around human settlements. Wild wolves, dangerous wolves. They came near our camps looking for food scraps. Most humans probably thought we should drive them away or kill them for safety." "That would be the logical response," Grentok agreed. "But some humans thought differently," Hajun continued. "They noticed something interesting. The wolves who were less afraid of humans, the ones who were more friendly and calm, those wolves were easier to have around. So those wolves got more food. They survived better. They had more puppies. And those puppies were also friendly to humans. Selective breeding," Thexlar said with understanding dawning in his voice. "We use this technique for growing better crops." "Exactly right," Hajun said with approval. "Generation after generation, we kept the friendliest wolves around our settlements. We fed them and protected them. And they protected us in return. They warned us about dangers. They helped us hunt for food. Eventually, after thousands of years, they weren't wolves anymore. They had changed. They were dogs." Hajun pulled out his small datapad. He pressed some buttons and projected images into the center of the room. Holographic images appeared, showing a huge variety of dogs. Tiny ones that could fit inside a cup, giant ones as big as small bears. Dogs with long fur and short fur. Dogs of every color and pattern imaginable. All of these came from wolves, Hajun explained. We created them through careful breeding. We made them for different purposes and jobs. Some dogs hunt with us. Some guard our homes and families. Some herd our sheep and cattle. And some, we keep just for companionship and company, just because they make us happy. You altered a predator species for the purpose of making yourselves happy, Vormak said slowly. He was trying to wrap his mind around this concept. We gave them a better life too, Hajun pointed out fairly. Dogs live with us in our homes. They get regular food and don't have to hunt. They get medical care when they're sick. They get love and affection. They're family to us. Most humans consider their dogs to be family members. This still doesn't explain the tiger, the observer pressed with insistence. The door to the conference room opened. Another human walked in. She was older than the others, wearing formal clothing with Earth's diplomatic insignia on the collar. Her black hair was tied back in a neat style. "Sorry I'm late to the meeting," she said, in a professional voice. "I'm Minji, cultural attaché for the human delegation. I heard there were many questions about our relationship with predators." "So many questions," Thexlar confirmed. Minji smiled warmly and took a seat next to Hajun. "May I use the projector?" She gestured to the holographic device. "Please do," the observer said. Minji's presentation filled the room with new images. The first showed ancient humans riding on the backs of large four-legged animals. These are horses. After their sting, they were originally prey animals that ran from predators. We domesticated them about 6,000 years ago. Now, they're our partners. We ride them for transportation. We work with them in fields. Many humans have deep emotional connections with their horses. New images appeared. Small, furry animals sitting inside human homes. These are cats. They're small predators. We invited them into our homes originally because they killed rats and mice that ate our stored food. Now we keep them simply because we enjoy their company. There are hundreds of millions of cats living with humans. They choose to stay with us. Birds of prey appeared next in the holographic display. They perched on gloved human hands. Falcons, eagles, hawks. We trained these hunters to work with us. Falconry has been practiced by humans for thousands of years. These birds hunt with us. Then, more exotic animals filled the display. Elephants, massive and powerful enough to crush us. We work alongside them. Foxes, small predators that some people have bred to become pets. Ferrets, another predator we keep in our homes for companionship. The images kept coming in a steady stream. Snakes wrapped around human arms. Spiders kept in glass containers. Large black birds called corvids, being fed by humans and bringing shiny gifts in return. You keep venomous creatures by choice? Some people do, Minji confirmed with a nod. Always with proper safety measures and knowledge. We find them fascinating to study and observe. But why? Thexlar pressed forward in his seat. What survival advantage does this behavior give you as a species? That's the really interesting part, Minji said. Her eyes lit up as she spoke. It started as pure survival strategy. Dogs helped us hunt and guarded our camps from danger. Cats protected our food stores from pests. Horses let us travel farther and carry more supplies. But over time, it became something else entirely. We discovered that we liked having these animals around. They made us feel less alone in the world. They gave us joy and happiness. Joy. Grentok repeated the word, like it was completely foreign to him. You derive joy from having a predator nearby? Yes, Minji said simply and directly. Humans feel affection and love for animals. Even dangerous ones. Especially dangerous ones sometimes. We find them beautiful and interesting. We think they're worth protecting and preserving. A new image appeared in the display. Humans swimming in blue water with massive sharks gliding past them peacefully. We dive with sharks, Minji narrated in a calm voice. Not to hunt them or because we fear them. Just to observe them in their natural environment. Just to be near them and appreciate them. Another image showed humans standing close to enormous bears in protected forest areas. We study them carefully. We protect their habitats from destruction. We work hard to ensure they survive and thrive. Images of big cats in sanctuaries being cared for by gentle human hands. Wolves in rehabilitation centers being nursed back to health. Crocodile conservation programs, saving eggs and babies. You actively protect the very things that could hunt you, the observer stated. It was not a question, but an observation of fact. We protect what we value and cherish, Minji corrected gently. And we value diversity in nature. We value beauty in all its forms. We believe these creatures have the right to exist. Besides, they rarely hunt us anymore. We're not really prey. We're actually too dangerous to hunt. That statement hung in the air for a long, heavy moment. Dangerous, Grentok said slowly. You call yourselves dangerous? Humans? Minji's smile was gentle, but her eyes were very sharp and clear. We're the apex predator of Earth. The top of every food chain. We just prefer not to act like traditional predators. We have weapons that can destroy entire cities in moments. We can change the very climate of our planet through our actions. We've driven species to extinction by pure accident. But we chose a different path forward. We chose to be caretakers and protectors instead of conquerors and destroyers. She stood up and walked slowly around the circular table. Every eye followed her movement. Every species gathered here today has told stories about overcoming your predators. You used strength or speed or intelligence to defeat them. Humans overcame our predators by making them into family members. We turned our enemies into our closest allies. We saw the potential for connection and friendship in everything, even in things with sharp claws and sharper teeth. This is not normal behavior, Thexlar insisted firmly. This goes against all natural behavioral patterns. For your species, maybe that's true, Minji agreed without argument. But for humans, this is completely natural. This is who we are at our core. We form bonds easily and deeply. We empathize with others. We extend our social groups far beyond our own species. It's our greatest strength as a people. A small, quiet voice spoke up from the back of the room. A delegate from a species that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a deer. Her fur was soft gray. Do you think other species could learn to do this? Could we learn to bond like you do? Minji's expression softened with kindness. I honestly don't know the answer to that. It took humans many thousands of years to develop this ability. We had specific evolutionary pressures that shaped us. But I think any species that truly wants to understand others, that chooses connection over conflict, that values empathy, I think any species like that can learn something valuable from our example. Hajun raised his hand politely to get attention. Can I show everyone something else? Something that might help explain better? The observer's crystal body pulsed with nervous light. No more live demonstrations with predators, please. Just a video recording from Earth, Hajun assured everyone with a calm smile. Nothing dangerous at all. The holographic display changed to show a new scene. It was a human home, modest and comfortable looking. A large dog lay on a soft couch. A cat sat perched on a high shelf, watching everything below. Both were predators by nature, but both looked completely relaxed and at ease. A human child walked into the room. The child was small and vulnerable, maybe 5 or 6 years old. The dog's tail began to wag back and forth happily. The cat jumped down from its high perch with a graceful leap. The child wrapped small arms around the dog in a tight hug. The massive animal, which could have easily hurt the child, was incredibly gentle. Its tail wagged faster. The cat rubbed against the child's legs, purring loudly. All three played together on the floor, completely at ease with each other. This is normal in human homes, Hajun said quietly. His voice was serious now. Our children grow up surrounded by predators. They learn empathy and responsibility by caring for these animals. They learn about companionship and trust. We trust these predators with our most precious treasures, with our young, our future, our children. The room fell into heavy silence. This was perhaps the most shocking thing they had heard yet. Baram, Hajun continued. The tiger you all saw today, he came from a sanctuary, a protected place where we care for big cats that cannot survive in the wild for various reasons. He was born there and raised by human caretakers. He's never had to hunt for his own food. He's never had to fear humans or fight for survival. We play with him regularly. We care for him like family. And yes, we love him deeply. Because he's Barum. He's a unique individual who matters to us. This changes everything we thought we knew, a delegate whispered from somewhere in the room. Does it really change anything? Minji asked the group thoughtfully. We're not asking anyone here to change your ways or your cultures. We're simply showing you who we are as humans. Maybe it helps you understand why we approach diplomacy the way we do. Why we always look for common ground and shared interests. Why we truly believe in cooperation and mutual benefit. Because you're naturally predisposed to befriend everything you encounter, Vormak said. Understanding was clear in his voice now. That's basically it. Yes, Hajun agreed cheerfully. We can't really help ourselves. We see something with eyes and a face, and our first instinct is to wonder if we can make friends with it. It works with predators on Earth. It works with aliens from across the galaxy. The principle is exactly the same. Grentok stood up slowly. His massive form cast a long shadow across the conference table. I have judged humans too hastily and unfairly. I saw your soft bodies and gentle manners. I assumed you were weak. But a species that can turn wolves into loyal companions, that can play safely with tigers, that can weaponize the very concept of friendship itself. You are not weak at all. You are perhaps the most dangerous species in this room. We really try not to think of it as a weapon, Minji said carefully. Her voice carried a note of caution. But yes, I suppose from certain perspectives, it could be seen that way. I would like to visit Earth, Grentok announced formally to the room. I want to understand this phenomenon better with my own eyes. I want to visit too, said the small rabbit deer delegate. Her voice was excited now, instead of fearful. And I as well. Thexlar added his voice to the growing chorus. Count me in, echoed more and more voices around the circular room. The observer chimed thoughtfully. The sound was like wind through crystal bells. This summit has become far more interesting and significant than anyone anticipated. Perhaps we should add cultural exchange programs to the treaty we're signing. Official visits and educational programs. We would absolutely love that, Minji said with genuine enthusiasm. Though I should warn all of you about something. If you visit Earth, people will probably try to pet you. Pet? Several aliens asked at once. The word clearly confused them. Touch you in an affectionate way. Hajun explained patiently. Humans like to express friendship through physical contact. We shake hands when we meet. We hug people we care about. And yes, we pet things. If something looks soft and seems friendly, humans have a strong urge to touch it gently. It's just part of how we are. You'll try to pet us, Grentok said very slowly. He was processing this information. Like we are your domesticated companion animals. Only if you give permission and say it's okay, Hajun said quickly, holding up his hands. Consent and respect are very important to us. We would never touch someone who didn't want to be touched. But yes, you might encounter humans who ask if they can pet you. Especially children. Human children want to pet absolutely everything they see. The formal meeting began to dissolve into smaller conversations. Delegates were discussing this new information. Some were debating what it meant. Some were clearly alarmed by what they had learned. Others seemed deeply fascinated and curious. A few appeared genuinely hopeful about future relations. As the official session came to an end, Vormak approached the human delegation with careful steps. I have one more question that troubles me. You said earlier that you haven't found a species you cannot befriend. But what happens when you finally do encounter such a species? What happens when you meet something truly hostile? Something truly incompatible with friendship? Nari, who had been mostly quiet throughout the entire meeting, finally spoke up. Her voice was cold and hard as ice. "We try friendship first. We always try first. We give every chance possible. But if something proves beyond doubt that it cannot coexist peacefully, if it cannot be reached through any means." She paused and looked directly into Vormak's golden eyes. "Then we protect what we love. And humans are extremely good at protecting the things and people we love." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Vormak's scales rippled in an involuntary response. He understood now with perfect clarity. These creatures who played so gently with predators, who turned ancient enemies into beloved family members, they would be absolutely terrifying if someone threatened those they had bonded with. "I see it clearly now," Vormak said quietly. "Friendship first. Always. But fury. If that friendship is betrayed, or those you love are threatened, we really, truly prefer friendship," Hajun said. His voice was warm again, breaking the cold tension. "It's so much more enjoyable for everyone involved. More fun, more productive, better for building long-term relationships." Later that evening, after all the formal sessions had ended, something unexpected happened in the station's common areas. Small groups of aliens began gathering in casual spaces. They were discussing what they had learned. But more than that, they were questioning their own relationships with the creatures of their home worlds. The small rabbit-deer delegate sat with others from her species. "What if we tried?" she said softly to her companions. "What if we attempted to understand the predators of our world, instead of simply fearing them?" Vexlar stood before a holographic display, reviewing data about the razor-wing mantids. For the first time in his life, he wondered if they could be understood, rather than just defended against. Even Grentalk sat alone in deep thought. His people had always been warriors. They conquered through strength. But perhaps there was another way. A human way. In the human quarters, the team gathered to debrief. Doyun had just finished settling Baram for the night. The tiger was content, in his secure, comfortable container. "We've received 43 formal requests," Minji reported, reviewing data on her pad. 43 different species want to send delegations to Earth. They want to visit our animal sanctuaries and conservation centers. They want to learn about our bonding techniques and domestication history. "That's more than I expected," Hajun admitted. He looked surprised but pleased. "Earth is about to become the most popular tourist destination in the entire known galaxy," Nari observed dryly. "Because of our animals," Doyun added with a grin. "Because of what our animals represent," Minji corrected her gently. "They represent hope. They represent the possibility of connection across seemingly impossible divides. They represent the idea that different beings can exist together not just in cold peace, but in genuine warmth and affection." "That's a lot of philosophical weight to put on Baram's furry shoulders," Hajun joked. From his container, Baram made a sound that was half yawn, half chuff. He rolled over in his sleep, completely unconcerned with his new role as an ambassador for human-animal relations and interspecies friendship. "He'll handle it just fine," Doyun said with confidence. "We just have a much bigger audience watching us now. The entire galaxy is watching." "No pressure then," Nari said. Outside their quarters, the diplomatic station continued its slow rotation around the green planet. Inside, species from across the stars were beginning to see humanity not as mysterious newcomers or potential threats, but as something entirely unique, something that might just change how everyone thought about cooperation, about friendship, about the very nature of relationships between different beings. And in the morning, everything would change even more. The summit's closing ceremony was held in the Grand Hall 3 days after the tiger demonstration. The treaty had been signed by all 47 species. New sections had been added about cultural exchange programs and interspecies understanding studies. But the atmosphere had changed completely from the formal tension of opening day. Now there was genuine curiosity in the air. Hajun stood at the speaker's podium with Baram sitting calmly beside him. The tiger wore a comfortable harness, though he hardly needed it. He showed no interest in going anywhere, except staying near Hajun. "Thank you all for allowing me to speak today," Hajun began. His voice was clear and carried well through the enormous space. "I know the past few days have been surprising for many of you. We didn't come here intending to shock anyone. This is simply normal life for us as humans." He placed his hand gently on Bahram's large head. The tiger leaned into the touch with obvious contentment. "Humans aren't special because we're particularly strong or smart compared to other species. We're special because we connect so deeply with others. We look at a wolf and see a potential friend instead of just a threat. We look at a horse and see a potential partner instead of just prey. We look at the unknown and we see possibilities for understanding. That curiosity and hope for connection is what brought us to space," he continued. His eyes swept across the diverse audience. "Not dreams of conquest or expansion. We came to space because we wanted to meet you. All of you. We wanted to see what connections we could make among the stars and across the vast distances between worlds." Doyun joined him on the stage, carrying the red ball that Bahram loved. She tossed it gently, and the tiger caught it in his mouth. Then he dropped it at her feet, waiting expectantly. She scratched behind his ears with obvious affection. "Someone asked me yesterday if humans are brave," Hajun said thoughtfully. "I've been thinking about that question. I don't think we're particularly brave. Bravery is doing something despite fear. But when I'm with Bahram, I don't feel fear. I feel friendship. I feel trust. We're not brave. We're just optimistic about relationships. We believe that things can be better than they are. That enemies can become friends with effort and understanding. That communication and empathy beat fear and violence every single time." In the audience, reactions were mixed, but thoughtful. Some species still looked uncomfortable with the display. Others watched with clear fascination. The younger delegates seemed especially interested, leaning forward in their seats. "We don't expect everyone here to suddenly adopt our ways," Minji said, stepping up to join them on stage. "We deeply respect that each species has traveled its own unique path through history. Each of you has your own relationship with the natural world of your home planet. But we hope you'll allow us to share our perspective and our experiences. Let us show you what friendship between very different species can look like when given a real chance." The observer floated to the center of the grand hall. Its crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. The Galactic Council formally recognizes humanity's unique cultural approach to interspecies relations. We welcome detailed studies and extensive exchanges of knowledge. May this summit mark not just a treaty signing, but the true beginning of deeper understanding between all gathered peoples. Formal applause filled the hall. But then, something unexpected began to happen. Delegates who had carefully kept their distance from Bahram for 3 days began to move closer. Very cautiously, at first, testing their own courage. Hajun knelt down beside the tiger, keeping one reassuring hand on his back. "He's very gentle. Luxlan. Luxlan," Hajun said encouragingly to the approaching aliens. "You can come closer if you want to. He won't hurt anyone." The small rabbit deer delegate was the first to approach, just as she had been the first to ask about learning to bond. She moved slowly and carefully, her large eyes fixed on the massive predator. Bahram watched her with calm interest, but made no threatening moves. When she was close enough, she reached out one trembling paw. Her soft fur touched the tiger's striped fur. Bahram remained perfectly still. She pressed her paw more firmly against his warm side, feeling the reality of a predator who meant her no harm. "He feels so warm," she whispered in wonder and amazement. "All cats run a few degrees hotter than humans do," Doyun explained with a smile. "It's just how their bodies work." More delegates began to gather around. Some maintained a respectful distance, still processing their feelings. But others came forward with growing confidence. Thexlar extended one of his 4 hands very carefully and touched Bahram's swishing tail. The tiger flicked it playfully, and the insectoid delegate made a chirping sound that the translators identified as laughter. Vormak approached the group but stopped several feet away. He did not reach out to touch. I cannot do this yet, he admitted honestly. My instincts are still too strong. They tell me this is dangerous. But perhaps someday, with time and practice, I will be able to overcome that instinctive fear. That's completely okay and understandable. Hajun assured him kindly. This kind of change takes time. There's no shame in moving at your own pace. But the children who had come to the summit with their families had no such hesitation or deeply ingrained fear. Young beings from a dozen different species gathered around Bahram with natural curiosity. They were fascinated by this large, beautiful, surprisingly gentle creature. Bahram, for his part, seemed to genuinely enjoy all the attention. He lay down on the floor, making himself look less imposing and more approachable. When a tiny delegate no bigger than Hajun's hand carefully climbed onto his back, the tiger didn't even flinch or move. He simply continued to purr steadily. Nari stood to the side of the stage, carefully recording everything on her datapad for the official reports. This will make excellent documentation, she said quietly to herself. Grentok approached her position with heavy, deliberate steps. Your species will fundamentally change the galaxy, he stated. It was not a question, but a firm declaration. That's really not our goal or intention, Nari replied honestly. Nevertheless, Grentok said with certainty, you will create change whether you intend to or not. You've shown us something we never even considered possible before, that there is another way to relate to power and danger and the other. That there is an alternative to fear and violence. Some species will resist this new idea strongly. Some will fear you because of it. And the others? Nari asked, looking up at the massive warrior. Others like myself will want to learn from you. He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. My people have a serious problem. There is a creature on one of our colony worlds that regularly attacks our settlements. We've been making plans to exterminate the entire species to protect our people. But? Nari prompted gently, but now I wonder if there might be another way forward. If humans could come and try what you do. Use your unique approach and skills. I'm not asking for promises of success, just for you to try. Nari's expression softened. Send us all the details and information you have. We'll organize a team and send them to your world. No promises or guarantees, but we will absolutely try our best. That is all I ask for, Grentok said. Across the grand hall, Hajun was patiently teaching a group of young aliens how to play fetch properly with Bahram. They threw the ball with varying degrees of success and accuracy. One enthusiastic throw went completely wild, bouncing hard off a distant wall. Bahram bounded after it with such speed and energy that several adult delegates had to scramble quickly out of his path. But the children laughed with pure delight at the sight. Minji stood next to Doyun at the edge of the growing crowd, watching the historic scene unfold. Do you think they truly understand what this moment means? Minji asked quietly. Some of them do, Doyun replied thoughtfully. They can see that we're fundamentally different from other species they've encountered. We don't just tolerate others or coexist peacefully. We actively seek out connection and relationship. We want to understand and befriend. It's both beautiful and probably terrifying to species that don't think that way. It's simply human, Minji said with a slight smile. Exactly the same thing, Doyun agreed. The observer floated gracefully over to join their conversation. I have been running detailed analyses of human psychology and behavior patterns. Your bonding capability creates an unusual vulnerability that others might exploit. You can be hurt deeply through harming those you've bonded with. Enemies could potentially use this against you. They could certainly try that approach, Minji said calmly. But deliberately hurting what we love is absolutely the fastest way to meet the other side of humanity. The side we generally prefer not to show anyone. I suspected that was the case, the observer chimed knowingly. The species that loves most fiercely and deeply will also protect most fiercely and completely when necessary. We genuinely prefer love and friendship, Doyun said firmly. It's so much more enjoyable. For everyone. As the long day slowly wore on, the ceremony became less and less formal. Different species began to mingle more freely, sharing stories and cultural information. Many kept returning to watch the humans interacting with their tiger. Word continued to spread throughout the entire station. Soon, crew members and maintenance workers were finding creative excuses to pass through the grand hall. By early evening, an actual line had formed. Beings from across the galaxy wanted to see Bahram up close. Some wanted to touch him, if they felt brave enough. Everyone wanted to experience this seemingly impossible thing, an apex predator existing in complete peace with those who should be prey. Hajun eventually sat down on the floor, leaning his back comfortably against Bahram's warm side. The tiger was clearly tired from all the attention and activity, but he seemed deeply content with the situation. His constant purring provided a steady background rumble that could be felt through the floor. "You know what we accomplished today?" Hajun said very quietly to the tiger. "We maybe changed how an entire galaxy thinks about danger and trust, about fear and connection. That's pretty significant." Bahram yawned enormously, showing every single one of his impressive teeth. "Yeah, you're absolutely right," Hajun agreed with a tired smile. "It has been a very long day. Want to go back home to Earth soon?" The tiger's tail thumped once against the hard floor in what might have been agreement. Nari approached them with official departure documents displayed on her pad. "We're cleared to leave tomorrow morning. Transportation is all arranged for Bahram and his container. Back to the sanctuary," Hajun said warmly. "He'll be so happy. They have his favorite sunny hill there, where he likes to nap." The summit organizers have made a formal request," Nari added. "They want us to return regularly for ongoing visits. They want to establish a permanent cultural exchange program with Earth. More opportunities to confuse and surprise aliens with our unusual ways." Hajun grinned up at her. "Definitely sign me up for that." As the station's artificial lights slowly dimmed for the scheduled night cycle, the grand hall finally began to empty. But a few beings chose to remain, sitting at a respectful distance, simply watching the humans sleep peacefully beside the tiger. Watching this supposedly impossible partnership and friendship. When morning came, and Hajun woke up, he discovered small gifts carefully arranged in a circle around where he and Bahram had slept. Tokens and offerings from many different species. A beautiful crystal flower from the observer. A hand-carved stone from Grentok. Woven grass formed into a bracelet from the rabbit deer delegate. Dozens and dozens of small offerings representing gratitude and hope. A handwritten note was attached to the observer's crystal gift. The words were simple, but meaningful. "Thank you for showing us there is a different way forward." Hajun smiled and gently scratched Bahram behind the ears. "You hear that, buddy? We made real friends here." The tiger made a huffing sound that could have meant absolutely anything, but Hajun chose to interpret it as agreement and approval. On the transport ship heading back toward Earth, Doyun carefully reviewed all the footage and data they had collected from the summit. "We have received over 100 formal requests," she announced with clear excitement. "Different species wanting to visit Earth. They want to see our animal sanctuaries and conservation programs. They want to learn directly about forming bonds with animals. Do you think we're actually ready for that level of attention?" Hajun asked with some concern. Minji laughed warmly. "We've been ready for this for thousands of years. Earth is about to become the single most popular tourist destination in the entire known galaxy. All because of our animals and how we treat them," Nari observed. "Because of what our animals represent to others," Minji corrected carefully. "They represent hope for better futures. They represent connection across impossible divides. They represent the radical possibility that vastly different beings can exist together, not just in cold peace, but in genuine warmth and real affection. That's an awful lot of pressure and expectation to put on Bahram's furry shoulders," Hajun pointed out, as if he had somehow heard his name being spoken. The tiger, in his secure and comfortable transport container, yawned widely and rolled over onto his other side. He appeared completely unconcerned with his new galactic role as ambassador for human-animal relations and interspecies friendship possibilities. "He'll handle it perfectly fine," Doyun said with absolute confidence. "We all will. This is simply what humans do. What we've always done throughout our entire history. We just happen to have a much bigger audience watching and learning from us now. The whole galaxy is watching what happens next. No pressure at all then," Nari said dryly. But even she was smiling slightly. The ship made the jump to faster-than-light speed, carrying its small crew back toward home. Behind them, on the diplomatic station, real changes were already beginning to take root. Species were seriously questioning their traditional relationships with their homeworld's creatures. Scholars were excitedly developing entirely new fields of academic study. Children everywhere were asking their parents if they could have pets of their own. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not with advanced weapons or superior technology, but with something far more revolutionary and powerful. The simple, profound act of befriending a tiger and treating him like family. And in doing exactly that, they had shown the entire universe a completely different way to exist, not as conquerors or victims, but as friends to all who would accept friendship freely offered. In the cargo hold, Bahram purred steadily in his sleep, perhaps dreaming of the strange recent days and the familiar sanctuary waiting ahead. He was just a tiger. He had no idea he had helped change an entire galaxy's perspective. But he didn't need to know or understand. He just needed to be himself, to exist authentically. And sometimes, simply being yourself is the most revolutionary and powerful act of all.